You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. Time now to talk politics. I am joined by KARK's political team. I've got Caroline Derby and Alex Kienlen. Thank you both for being here.
Hello.
Thanks for having us, Roby, as always.
It's been a busy week
Yes.
at the state capitol. And just throw some tornadoes and wildfires in on top of everything else. It's been newsy.
It has been. It's been a
Caroline,
full week.
I'm coming to you first. The governor holds a press conference. We were just told she's going to make an announcement. You never know what it's going to be.
Right.
It's kind of a comprehensive package to deal with illegal aliens. Give us kind of a little bit of an overview of what she's proposed.
Yeah, what we know right now, the Defense Against Criminal Illegals Act, she's hoping to expand the sanctuary city ban to include unincorporated areas in Arkansas, as well as have our local law enforcement agencies work more closely with ICE to focus on expediting deportations.
Yeah, and I have pointed out to several people that you can't have a sanctuary city in an unincorporated area because it's unincorporated because it's not a city, really, isn't that right? But I get the gist of what they're trying to do there. So for sure. All right, we can't mention you, Alex, without talking about power generation. So it's your obsession these days.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean for it to be.
The bill has gotten its way all the way through. The governor signed it into law now without much fanfare, quite frankly.
That surprised me, but what it is, she signed it into law, and now we have a new structure between the Public Service Commission and the electric utilities. And I'm thinking every Arkansan will be impacted by this law. Anybody who pays for electricity will be impacted by this law. With that said, our electric rates are going to go up no matter what. We have 2 coal-fired plants going off the line due to that settlement with the Sierra Club some years ago. And because of that, they're going to have to build more power or import more power to the state. And either one of those are going to cost us money.
The argument for the bill was it would be more of an incremental increase versus a one-time kind of at the end of a capital build project. Now you got to put the rate increase in there.
That was the concern. There would be build new property, and then it would be real sticker shock on your bill if you waited to pay for that until it was done. Imagine a nuclear power plant being added to your bill.
Yeah, I'd like to not think about that now. So
they'd rather incrementally increase it.
All right, Caroline, let's talk a little bit about prisons.
Yes.
This is, again, there was a big debate on Thursday about prisons. The funding bill basically gets out of the Joint Budget Committee, but not by a big margin.
Not by a big margin.
It faces some bigger hurdles on the floor of the House and the Senate.
Yeah, I think it does have some big hurdles coming its way. You know, the twists and turns of this story, right? There's a $330 million appropriation request, failed in committee. A few days later, you know, they came back with an estimate about $825 million. And Senator Jonathan Dismaying addressed some of this. He said, you know, he felt like some of the reasons maybe that original appropriation request failed is because many legislators didn't know a true estimate. Now there's an estimate, $825 million. The state has $75 million set aside. And then the appropriation bill that passed and got out of joint budget was for $750 million. A lot of numbers there, but definitely a lot to continue to follow too.
Yeah, and a lot of the folks that are opposed to this prison being built in Franklin County will tell you that the dollar figure is going to be a lot more than $825 million. I think the $750 million plus the $75 million equals the $825 million on that. They do have the $75 million, though, can be spent already. That was passed in the last legislative session for site prep and advanced work and things like that.
Phase 1 construction,
But the challenge is an appropriation bill has to get 75% approval in both the House and the Senate. I'll put both of you on the spot. Do you think that it's got 75% in either chamber?
I don't know that it does right now, but we'll definitely see. I don't like to call things, but.
And I expect there's going to be a lot of talking on the phone this week as people are trying to bring in votes.
It's going to be some broken arms is what it's going to be when they get to strong arming and twisting them.
I have little doubt of that. And to your other point, I think some of the expense that might not be accounted for, they're going to have to build infrastructure to support a prison, wastewater plant, better roads.
Yeah, there are definitely some
numbers go up.
I'll be watching. The 75% vote, though, is what people really need to be keeping their eye on there. That is a really tough threshold. But if you think about it, you know, the Democrats, I think, are fairly in unison opposed to this construction of the new prison. They don't have enough to get 25%, but you throw in area legislators that have to represent their constituents who are opposed to this, and you get pretty close to 25% in both chambers. I think this will be a real challenge.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's going to be tight. Yes,
All right,
sir.
we got a few minutes left here. I still want to talk about nitrogen gas executions. This is another bill that the governor, without much fanfare, signed into law this week. It's a sensitive subject, it's a difficult subject, but now that that's in place, there could be a restart of state executions.
Yeah, I expect so. It'll be a little while yet. The Board of Corrections still has to come up with a protocol how they're going to do this, and of course there's equipment and everything else. But I think of our 25 men on death row right now, about half of them have run out all their appeals, and one has been on there for over 30 years now, as I recall.
Yeah.
So I expect we'll see something starting up soon enough. Within a year wouldn't surprise me.
There was a nitrogen gas execution in, was it
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yeah, that's like in the
Yes.
last week or so.
2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we still have to go in the legislative session, we still have the grocery tax to be eliminated.
Yeah.
We're going to see some progress, more progress on that. Anybody got a prediction on that? When does it start working its way through?
Oh, everybody wants to get their name on that. So I think, of course, they'll be on break next week, but I think after that, we'll see that thing.
Are you going to be on break next week because they're on break next week?
Unfortunately not, but wish I could take a spring break. But.
All right, the Access Act also got signed into law.
Yeah.
This is the governor's higher education reform measure, very comprehensive. I'm actually leading some panel in a couple of weeks to talk about it up in Northwest Arkansas, so I will bone up even more on it now that it's there. There were a lot of people opposed to parts of the Access Act because of some of the political correctness that is in there. But this thing's still got to go through a whole bunch of rules and regulations. I mean, I've told some groups that I've spoken to, the law's passed and signed into law, but there's still a long ways to go on that. To just kind of explain that regulation process, not in great detail, but the fact that this could go on for months.
Yeah, I think part of it too, you think about some of the money that's involved, and maybe that's what you're talking about as well, and figuring out how to get that where it needs to go. The challenge scholarship going up for college freshmen, I think part of that too. A couple of different things.
Yeah.
It's some impacts that we're definitely going to see coming in the next couple months.
We'll
too.
have to see if eliminating the Department of Education changes anything to
Well,
the federal
that
level.
looks
One of the things that interested me was, unexcused absences if students participated in political
Yeah.
protest. And
Which is the policy now. They're
Right.
not excused now for political protests. So
Right.
the law it wasn't a written law, now it is a written law basically. That was why I was told there wasn't some pushback from some higher education folks on that part.
I got my degree when I was a little over 40 years old. And if I had to get my
About
mom's...
2 years ago?
Yeah,
3
thank
years?
you. I owe you. And having to get my parents' permission might have been a little awkward.
Just a tad. All right, Alex and Caroline, we got to end it there. Thank you so much for coming in
Thanks
and
for
visiting
having
with
me.
us on this, and
Thank
we
you.
will still have more to talk about. There's still about 4 or 5 more weeks left in this session. We're back with more right after this.